What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? How y'all doing this evening? How y'all doing this evening? Welcome to Trailblazer Radio. I am your host, Mr. Frederick Beatty. And I want to, first of all, I want to thank you guys so very much for tuning in to us and vibing out with us. You guys could have been anywhere else, but you guys are right here with us, rocking out with us. Most definitely thank you guys for that. You guys could, like I said, you guys could have been anywhere, but you're here. And we most definitely thank you for that. Um, Thank you guys for just fine. Thank you guys. Thank you. So continue, please. As a favor to me, continue to follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as Twitter, as well as Twitter. Um, Also on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel. Like it, please do me a favor, go over there, subscribe and like the content over there. We also have a website, www.trailblazerradio.com. And then we're gonna have a link tree and a Patreon page up soon. So keep your eyes and your ears on the ground for that. But I most definitely want to thank you guys, our listeners and our viewers, for being here with us tonight. Because without you guys, this particular entity would not exist. And I thank you guys so very much for that. Um, there are some announcements that I'm going to make, but I will give those announcements toward the end of the show. And I also want to be very respectful of our my get my special guest time tonight. So, want to welcome you guys to the what I like to call the check in. This particular show is about everything mental health, whether it's um, whether it's depression, anxiety, PTSD, any of that. We're also talking about also in addition, we're talking this condition that we're going to talk about tonight as well, and with my special guest that's on here tonight, and we're going to have a very informative conversation. Now, one last thing I really want you guys to do this for me really really quickly. Um, like I said in the last podcast episode when I had Mr. Taz on, um, over the last week or the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of things going on, and I'm not going to get into that. That'll be a subsequent episode. But I want to give a moment of silence to um, the families of Deshaun DuBose, um, Tyree Nichols, and all the people, all family members who have lost a loved one to Violence. I want to give a moment of silence for that right now, and I want to say that I want to give a moment of silence for that. Thank you guys for allowing me that opportunity. Trailblazers Radio is here for you guys as a family, for the Trailblazers Radio family to your family. We want to send our deepest condolences. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. Um, if you need us, we're an email away. Just get in contact with us. Um, and I really want to put that out there right now. So with all that being said and done, now I'm going to give an introduction to my guest of the hour. I met this young lady on Clubhouse, and she is a very powerful young lady. She is a servant. She is a servant of God. She is a servant of the Lord. She is a wife and a mother to three beautiful young children: Gloria, um, Ny- Nyeka, and Joshua. She has also learned to navigate through some of life's toughest challenges with prayer and scripture. She breathes and lives. She lives and breathes at the intersection of the Bible and science, where her spirituality and her health connect. She was born and raised in a small village in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where her Christian parents showed her God's love. Um, she's had a strong conviction that God loved her and she desired to know Him. That conviction was challenged when she was given away to a family member and where she witnessed and learned about the impact of miscarriages. She struggled with her faith as she was told that to serve God, one needed a special calling with a spiritual gift. Consequently, that experience and her faith struggle in the church left her feeling not good enough for God to work through her. As a during her second pregnancy, she experienced what was later discovered as postpartum depression. Through counseling and family support, prayer, and scripture, she rediscovers God's love, built up her faith, and decided to become a woman's advocate, especially for those women experiencing postpartum depression. She is also the founder of God Empress Ministries, where she teaches, inspires, and encourages women and families to seek God and to pray. She is a dynamic teacher who leads women's Bible studies, and she is also a mentor to women who desire to grow and develop their relationship with God through God and a prayer strategy. She is very, very excited to talk about women in the Bible, especially Hagar and the Samaritan women. She is a respiratory therapist by profession, which she enjoys as equally as she does her ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, without any further ado, let me introduce to you guys Mrs. Joy Kitanga-Dabo. Hello, hello, and hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing good. How are you? I like the fact you pronounce Dabo well. So thank you. You did very good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love that bio about you. I really do love that bio because it speaks a lot about, you know, where you were, but also it speaks about where you are and where you're going. But also it talks a lot about what you struggle with, but also how you overcame that through prayer, supplication, and strong belief in God. So I love that. I love that. I love that bio. Thank you for
Thank you.
thank you for coming on the show and just blessing us with your presence, and also wanting to talk about this particular subject, man. Here on this particular platform, we want to talk about those subjects that nobody talks about. This is one that a lot of people don't talk about, and I most definitely appreciate you for us. I most definitely thank God for us connecting on Clubhouse, and just for the brief conversation we had, I was most definitely enamored and also very much intrigued because I want to know more about this.
Hmm.
You know, I have a mother who bore three kids, who bore three boys. Me, my older brother Cedric, and my younger brother Kevin. But I also have other women in my life, aunties. Um, I have aunties and I have sisters, um, good friends who have bore children as well, and they've struggled. They've struggled. And sometimes you just say that some people just kind of write it off as like, well, that's just what it is, or what it isn't. But I thank you for just being, first of all, just being transparent, and then coming here on this platform to talk about it. So first and foremost, the one question I do want to ask you, I want to jump into this right away. Before we even jump into that, I know the bio said a lot of things about who you are, but
Yeah.
who is Joy? Who is Joy? Who is Joy the advocate?
Oh, well, Frederick, I want to say thank you first for giving me a voice, because the ministry that I'm called to is a ministry of giving women's a voice. And I remember when this topic here, when I first time encountered it, I was working in a hospital, and I
Mm,
was in a patient's room, and I saw the story of this young woman who just gave her life up after 2 weeks of giving birth, probably to a month. And I just broke down, and I was like, how can a woman, after giving birth, and this was on my first pregnancy, and I was like, how can a woman, the joy of giving birth, right? The joy of carrying the life. How can you carry the life all the way to 9 months, give birth, be at home, hold it, but and then the tragedy of what? Of suicide afterward. That
oh
shocked
man.
me. That shocked me. And I went home, and I remember my husband. I want to give a shout out to my good friend. We have known each other for over most about now 20 years, but we've been married for over 8 years now. So close to eight, or maybe a little bit 8 years. I'll let him count. I'll let him count. I stopped counting after 2 years
I know
and I
that's
let
right.
him count. So,
I know
honey, I
that's right.
want to say, I want to say, first of all, thank you for taking care of our kids right now so that I can come up here, because he's the number one, he's my number one advocate other than my sisters and my brothers. He's my number one supporter. I want to say thank you to him for taking care of our kids right now so that I can come up here and give voice to the women who are struggling with possibly postpartum depression. I want to also thank you to my prayer team, because as I called you earlier, I was like, my voice is gone. But I call my prayer team, my prayer group of Praying Women 365, and I asked them, I say, hey, can you hold me in prayer? Because this is important to me, and I feel attacked right now. And they come through, and here I am. So I want to acknowledge them as well and say thank you. So that's Joy. You ask about who is Joy, and outside of this bio, that's Joy. Married to my good
Wow.
friend, have a prayer team, and also walk with my Bible. Anyone who knows me, everywhere I travel, if you look at my luggage, there's a Bible in there, because I have learned to depend, like that song say, I have learned to trust and depend upon him through it all. There is my IB double right there, sir. That's right, him. I love you.
Thank you very much, sir. You are very much appreciated, sir. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you from the I appreciate you. And I thank you for um allowing me to share your wife with our platform and to our listening and our viewing audience, sir. So I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you. So this oh, look at that right there. I gotta let you see this. I gotta let you see this, Joy. Look at
Like,
that.
oh, thank you. There you go. That's our support team right there, Frederick. That's our support to all that are listening, to women, as we are diving into this conversation about postpartum depression. That support is very, very important, and without it, we either slip into the worst condition of postpartum depression, or we rise up and become advocate. We rise up and speak up. We rise up and represent, because it's not something that happened today. It is something that have occurred for a very, very long time. One of the women that you said in my bio, that's my favorite, is Hagar. I believe, Hagar is one of the women that represent, who lacked the voice and find herself in the wilderness. If you finding yourself in the wilderness with postpartum depression, first thing is get help. Speak up,
Wow.
share it, because it is something that is a cause as a result of hormonal imbalance. We women, we are giving out life. And that life of it, although all of us, even our children, come from the result of two people, two individuals coming together, women are responsible of nurturing that life, and nurturing that life is what takes out. So PPD, or postpartum depression, is basically a disorder that comes as a result of hormonal imbalance in a woman.
Wow. So does that hormonal imbalance happen? Is it during the pregnancy? Does it happen like during the pregnancy stages, or does it manifest in like in any particular trimester, or does it just happen during the course of the pregnancy?
It can be both. It can be all the above. For me, I remember it was this. I On my first pregnancy, I went to see my doctor, my OB doctor, and I say I am waking up with, I can't, memory loss, like, and they will tell you that's pregnancy. Every woman, that's pregnancy brain. Every now and then you forget. Every now and then you remember. I was like, okay, I can handle that. It will go away. And then the second thing is that I went back and I asked her. I say, um, I'm feeling like these mood swing, okay? And that was during the pregnancy. And this is what Frederick, she responded to me. And I want for our listener to understand this as well. She said, Joy, if you ever had experienced depression in your life, it, it's more likely to come back and come back stronger.
Oh, wow.
And that clue there got me silenced when I left the room. And she said, do you feel as though you are experiencing some symptom of depression, or have you had it before? I remember when I came to the US, the trauma of the transitioning, coming from a small village in Africa to here in the US, and living in a very traumatic shift atmosphere. I went through this period as a teenager where I was so lost, confused, identity crisis. I did not know. And I was begin to ask myself, was that depression? Because I grew up in a community. We don't talk about depression in Africa. We
Right.
don't know that the term. It's foreign. So for me, I did not know. When my OB say that, I began to trace back. When did I experience depression? I don't even know if I ever experienced depression. So it is beginning through it and all the way at the end for some. For some, it can be very strong in the middle of the pregnancy. It doesn't say whether first trimester or second trimester. It is throughout or it will come at the end. But mostly, I understand the science or the researchers that said the likeliness begin from first week after giving birth to 6 months. That period can be very, very strong for some women.
Wow. So we know that in how they used to they how they termed it, how they termed PPD um several years ago. They termed it baby blues, right?
Hmm.
So and I and for what you're saying and what I've heard or some of what I researched, it it aligns with that. But just with all conditions, there are misconceptions. Are there any misconceptions that you know of that could be that are downplayed or just isn't really true when it comes to PPD?
Any misconception that I downplay is I don't know if I can call misconception. I'm not sure, but I know this much that downplay that can happen is the fatigue, right? You
Ah,
just fatigue, it's tired. And for our single mom out there specifically, I want you to tune in and listen in. If you start feeling those exhaustion, those tiredness, call your girlfriend, call your mama girlfriend, call your auntie girlfriend, and ask them to take care of the kids, because those are the misconception that we think of. It's just a tiredness, it's exhaustion. Maybe I've been overworked, because we know, right, with babies you don't get to sleep. And
right.
we thinking that it's a lack of sleep, or maybe I just needed to sleep. Think about this, Frederick. It takes about 2 years before a woman, from the time she gave birth to 2 years before her hormonal gets stabilized back again.
Wow.
And this is without PPD. It takes about 2 years for you to be fully back yourself and grooving and up high and happy. So imagine for those who have PPD, how long can it take for the hormone to get back to the balance? So those, I believe, that we can define as misconception is you will think that you're tired, you will think you're exhausted, you may be feeling anxious for some, they'll feel. And you mentioned about baby blues. Baby blues versus PPD is that baby blues, you get mood swing, right? Baby blues, you get sadness. But sadness with PPD, it becomes so deep. The
Wow.
sadness becomes so heavy. It becoming you turning from just I feel sad to suddenly you sobbing.
Wow. So I guess you could safely say that this could be considered a mental health condition.
It can lead into, so depression. First of all, depression is a mental health issue,
Right.
right? Depression is a mental health. Now, this is a mental health issue that happened as a result to a woman after giving birth.
Jeez. You know what? The funny thing about it is, I never thought of the seriousness of it. I never. So I'll readily admit this, Joy. I mean, I've never really thought about the seriousness of it until you know my youngest son was born, and you know we were living together. We're both taking care of him, and I noticed that there were instances to where just bone tired and just out of it. So I mean, me personally, me being the person that didn't know what this was or heard about it, or just heard thought about it, just I chalked it up to just her working a lot.
Mhm.
Because after she did 6 weeks postpartum, she jumped right back into her job. She jumped right back into her job, and right back into the swing of the things that she was doing. But I never saw the other parts about it where she was so tired, she was so fatigued, and so uh, and she was just dead. Just she was just dog tired. And
Mhm.
then there were instances to where she would, um, there were instances to where she tried to breastfeed, and then there wasn't a she wasn't there wasn't a bond between the child and her. And I think that was problematic a little bit too. So I never really thought about it in that instance until you just mentioned it, and I'm like, wow, that really connected the dots for me.
Yes, and I thank God first for my faith journey, and I have a very strong awareness person. Very awareness is a big thing in my life. I'm aware. It's like anything that happens in my shift in my life. I'm like, where is this coming from? What? And I remember during pregnancy, my second pregnancy, because the first pregnancy we went through smooth jazz. I think the excitement of being a mother override it, and I never felt it. And also I had a community, which I believe makes a big difference. Now I understand, especially for our mothers back in the days, why they could have like 20 kids. You have so many they have the community, right? This one is raising that one is going to raise that one. And also, you have aunties, at least from the African perception, right? You have aunties, you have daughters, you have nieces, everybody's there. You don't have time for what? For feeling the body feeling overwhelmed, because you're being fed on. Okay, you're being fed on. I did a teaching on the power of women, biblical concept, giving birth, right? We went from giving birth to a holistic thing. Back in the biblical time, in the area, women were covered, surrounded. There were probably people chanting, worshiping during that movement, because it is life transitioning into the world, to the place where it is in Revelation, where it says that the woman is giving birth and there's this enemy standing in front of her. To the time where we are in, when we're giving birth, men were not allowed during this time giving birth, right? But we have
Right.
this privilege now. So that transition, that concept of giving birth being holistic, to this place where majority of women, we are, my husband and I, after we got married, we moved. We're away from family. Okay. We
Right.
don't have. We're in a new area. We gotta learn about who can we trust in the new environment. My mom passed when I was 16, so I have no mother connection. My
Wow.
sisters are airplanes away to be where I am. So I'm giving birth. My husband on the side, and the doctors, and the rest is you figure it out. So think about that concept psychologically on the woman.
Wow. I think that I really want to mirror what you're saying. It is I want it's important for us to understand it that first of all, it is the result of a hormonal imbalance that leads
Mhm.
to a mental health condition,
Mhm.
a serious mental health condition. So, and I think when people look at it from the instance of hormonal imbalance, mental health condition, and then kind of equate the two, I think there will be a better understanding of that. And you already you mentioned earlier that what those symptoms were, um, fatigue, malaise,
Crying,
crying, you know,
reduced appetite.
yeah, all sleeping all the time. I mean, there are, I mean, there we could probably go on and on and on with that, you know, and we are going to talk a lot about you know, in our subsequent episodes, y'all, we're gonna talk about how it affects the mother, how it affects the child, how it affects the husband, or the father, or and the family. So we're gonna talk about those. Where we're I also want to say is we're also going to talk about what can be done to help that. What can we do as husbands, as fathers, as family members to do that? And we'll get to that in subsequent episodes, because this is, y'all, just let y'all know, this is going to be like a 4 or 5 part series, because the things me and Joy talked about when we had our conversation, or Clubhouse. Yeah, when she said that to me and we talked about it. Yeah, I was all in. I ain't gonna even lie, I was all in, because I think this needs to be talked about, because we don't. I think when we realize that, and I'm gonna go on record to say this, and I think it needs to be said, and I don't think we as men and fathers, we don't say this to the women that bear our children enough. We don't show proper appreciation, or we don't show the thanks to the women that literally put their lives on the line to bear children for us, because we all know that childbearing has its risk.
Mhm.
There are huge risks in bearing a child. The mother could die during childbirth. The child could come out with birth defects and things of that nature. There are risks that are involved with that, and I think we as men and fathers, we don't necessarily we don't I know I didn't necessarily understand the risk of that, the risk that any of my children's mothers were taking when they tried to bear my kids. I i i never knew that. I just thought that was just that was just a cycle of life, and it is a cycle of life, but it's a cycle of life that has risk involved. So, like I said, I don't like from as a man, I could never understand what that is. I honestly could never I could never understand what pregnancy is. I can read about it. I can educate myself. I can read about it all day long, but I can read about it, so I can have the book knowledge of it, but I'll never understand the physiology of it. I'll never understand the
Psychological.
psychologic,
Yeah.
the psychology of it. I don't know what I mean to say, the psychology of it. I'll never understand the physiology or the psychology of it. I'll never understand the tremendous toll it takes on a woman's body, in that from 9 months, from conception to 9 months, that there's this huge physical change, but there's also a emotional and mental change as well. I
Mhm.
don't think we gentlemen, I'm gonna say this, guys, and probably gonna get a little bit of hate for this, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I'm gonna say this, gentlemen, if you have a woman in your life, whether it's your mom, or whether it's a sister or auntie or whomever, or you have children by a woman, please, please, and please, thank you. Please tell them to please thank them, because that is something that we as men cannot rep can never we'll never be able to do that. We can't even do that. If we try to do that, man, we die kicking and screaming. So please say thank you to the women that take the time to bear your kids. Most definitely do that. Um, that's all I'm gonna say about that, because I mean, I think it needs to be said. Gentlemen, thank your mom, thank your mother, thank your son or daughter's mom. Just do it. I mean, it goes a long way, y'all. It goes a long way. But with that being said, and again, most definitely taking deference to Miss Joy, and also to her time. We're gonna take a small break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some percentages. When we come back, we'll talk about some percentages, and we'll also talk about um, of those percentages. Are though What is it? Are there fatal consequences, or are there more serious consequences? So we're gonna take a couple of breaks. You guys are gonna. I'm gonna play a video for you guys, and then we're gonna watch. Then we're gonna watch one commercial, and we will be right back. You guys are watching the check-in with myself, with my host. I'm your host, Mr. Frederick Beatty, as well as my beautiful guest, Ms. Joy Kitanga-Dabo. We'll be right back, y'all. Where is it? Where is it? There it is, right there.
Life is so boring. I'm working harder every day, in every way, more than I can bear. I can do anything for love and everyone, but for myself, giving all I have, my own. So when the sun is coming out, all I know is the feeling I will be okay. Every day working hard, moving on, and I know we will make mistakes. Before you know, I step to grow. Not ashamed to play the fool for the cause. Somehow I'm gonna stop playing it off. Cause life,
sharing is what you need to do. This is your time.
It's time, get up,
Keep doing what you got to do. This is your life. It's your life.
cyber love. I think you got the feeling what I'm thinking of. Cyber love. I think I wanna get it all.
It's your life.
I've got this feeling, every stone is in my way. Now I send my joy to you each day. You can be anything you want, if you care and if you dare. Just open up your heart again. So when the sun is coming out, all I know is the feeling I will be okay. Every day working hard, moving on, and I know we will make mistakes. Before you know, I step to grow. Not ashamed to play the fool for the cause. Somehow I'm gonna start playing it off.
Day by day, gonna make it great. I'm gonna keep it moving on. Day by day, gonna make it great. I'm gonna keep it moving on.
Cause life,
Sharing is what you need to do. This is your time.
it's time, get up,
Keep doing what you got to do. This is your life. It's your life.
cyber love. I think you got the feeling what I'm thinking of. Cyber love. I think I wanna get it all.
It's your life.
Cyber love. I think you got the feeling what I'm thinking of. Way down, touchdown, shake down, touchdown. I think I wanna get it all.
It's your life.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Trailblazer Radio. Matter of fact, welcome back to the check-in. Again, I am your host, Mr. Frederick Beatty, and I have my beautiful, beautiful guest here, Miss Joy Kitanga-Dabo, in the building with me, and we are talking about postpartum depression. But before that, the music that the videos you guys just saw was Prince Amaho. The name of the video is called Life. If you guys are interested in wanting to check out that video on your own, check it out on YouTube under Prince Amaho. Check him out also on his various social media platforms at Prince Amaho. Um, and also before that, after that, the commercial you just heard was introducing one of my hosts, Miss Latoya Harris Good Energy, and with her critical conversations. So make sure you guys follow those guys on all their social media platforms, and just matter of fact, just smash that like button for them as well. But back to the subject at hand. So before we went to the break, I mentioned a little bit about us men showing more deference to the women that birth our children. And I'm very steadfast on that. I'm gonna stand on that. I'm gonna stand on that. Gentlemen, we do have to give more deference to the women who bear our children. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a life or death condition for this woman because again, childbearing has risk. Where the major risk is this woman, the woman that bears a child could die during childbirth. So I'm not gonna be long winded about that. I just want us men to show more deference to the women, to our women, to our mothers who give birth to our children. So with that being said, I know we talked a lot about we define what we pretty much define what it is. So we know that it is a condition that it's a hormonal imbalance that could lead to a mental health condition. So we pretty much confirm what that is. Pretty much confirm what that is. Now, doing your research and doing your advocacy and your research, was there any statistics that kind of speak to how many women or could get, I won't say get because then it makes it sound like it's a disease and it's not. It's like what's the likelihood of a woman of a newly a new mother? What's the likelihood of her getting? I keep saying getting because
Experiencing.
I'm trying to make it sound. When I say getting, it sounds like a disease, and it's not a disease. What's the? I'm trying to find the right
Experiencing. We're
word
gonna
for it.
call it
Is it?
experience. There you go. It's
Thank
an
you.
experience.
Thank you. So, is there
Going
any
through it.
percentages of that? Or, I mean, or is there any percentages of the experiences of that?
Yes, they are. And again, thank you for bringing this conversation up for women to have a voice. And it's likely for it says in our statistics that one in seven, okay, one in
Wow.
seven women will experience. It may sound like a small number. It's like, okay, Joy, it's just one in seven. Until you hear that 50% of those ones are what? Uh, what if I can say it, are undiagnosed.
Oh
50%
wow.
are undiagnosed. So the 1% is probably one out of seven is probably the only research that the women who voiced out their voice and say, I think I'm going to this, and talk with their OB and were able to go through the process. But 50% of women, of mother going postpartum depression are undiagnosed professionally.
Wow.
So there are many out there, but they just don't say it. Again, it's that conception. I'm just tired. I haven't slept, or I'm just feeling sad right now. Maybe because of this event is happening, and I associate it directly with what postpartum depression. And then I love this. I want to read this one because this one was big for me. Okay. It says 80% of women with postpartum depression will achieve a full recovery. Okay. And remember
Wow.
that postpartum is what? Going from about 3 months to 6 months. So if you're recovering, you probably, if it was minor, the woman probably didn't even feel the big hit, unless if you are like what my experience was, where it hit me. I felt like a truck just hit me, and I'm waking up, I'm wondering what in the world is happening to me. So with that percentage of those women recovering, they probably never felt it, and it just slightly went through, blazing through it, right? And
Right.
probably had the support. And also this 80% of the one that recover gives me hope. Give me hope that this is not something that you can stay in. Okay, this is not something that will linger for too long. There is hope for you and I. There is hope for the mother out there. There's hope for you. Ask for help, get the support that you need. Don't go through it alone. And the other number is this, right? It says that what? It is in the studies found that 50% of men, that's a big percentage right there.
Wow.
That's a big percent. I know we're gonna, for our listener, you need to come on a time we're gonna talk about the partners and how it affect them. But I just wanted to give you that number so you come and join us our conversation when we're talking about the effect on the partner. 50% of the partners get affected as well with what they call postpartum depression.
That is a huge
It's a
number.
big it's a big number, and it's also undiagnosed.
Wow.
And you
So
wonder
so
why we have so much divorce. It's not necessarily, as the statistics say, related to finance and sex, but could possibly this also be a reason, because we're not really connecting the hormonal imbalance causing a mental issue, connecting it to what, to the division or the tension that can exist in a home.
wow. So 50% of their partners so those people are adversely affected as well. Wow. That's a large number. That's a very large number.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned the 80%, that the 80% of those women, they blaze through it. That gives you hope. That gives you hope. You know, but what about what do we do with the remaining 20% that are struggling and going through this? You know, it is probably, like you said, of that 20%, half of those could be undiagnosed and they never talk about it. They really never talk about it with their OB or with uh, a mental health professional.
And
So
that 20%, Frederick, is that woman. Remember, I started the introduction. I said that the woman that I saw on the video, it was her husband now going back to connect with the clinic and say, what can we do about this for other women? He's raising now her daughter, and how does he tell, later on, the daughter, that your mother committed suicide 2 3 weeks after your birth? And it's that sad part of this, if we don't voice out. It's that sad part of the story when we don't take care and give our women, our mothers, hey, how about you take a nap? Do you need a babysitter? I really, I'm gonna put this on the record, and I want to really encourage. I'm gonna look straight in the camera, and I'm gonna talk to you, woman of God, woman, wherever you are, whatever you believe. I want to talk to you specifically. You know what? It's time to cut off this "I am a strong woman," right? Because many are going through that. I am the strong, powerful woman. I can do this thing on my own. We cannot do it on our own. There's a reason why we are paired. There's a reason we are in society. There's a reason we have a community. Please don't go through it alone. Please don't say you are a strong woman. Yes, you are. But you also, what? This process, giving life, it takes a lot from you. So allow your community to love on you. Allow, if you're married, allow your spouse to love on you and care for you. Express and say, right now, I just feel tired and I can't explain it. Can I go take a nap? Because guess what? When you wake up, that baby will still be there. When you wake up, those dishes will still be there. When you wake up, that house will still be there. But unfortunately, like for this woman that I first time saw this on TV, she wasn't there because she never said why she was tired. And she didn't probably know herself. So I'm encouraging you and I'm asking you and I'm pleading you, the strong woman thing, when we have babies, we got to learn to be that gentle as well and say, I need help. And that's what I want to plead to you and I want to cry out to you to be that woman who will be able and willing to say, I need help.
Man, I love that. I like that. You know, one of the things that I wanted that I did that I want to talk about is this one of the questions that I threw that I posed to you. What of all the percentages and all the statistics we can throw out there, I think we can agree that this is something that needs to be addressed. And it is most basic of forms. One of the things you mentioned was one of the young women committed suicide within a couple of weeks of birthing her child.
Mhm.
Um, are there now with in addition to that, are there our kid? Is it a possibility that a mother that's experiencing that would they or do they commit acts on the child, such as maybe um you know grievous harm to the child, which is not limited to you know killing the child, or what about, or do they would they abandon that child altogether?
Well, I'll say first for the story that I heard on the TV that day. The fact that the mom committed suicide, that's already abandoning the child. That's a
Right.
form of abandoning the child right there. And I did not, I don't have any statistic of mother abandoning children, but I can tell you this: when it reached what they call the postpartum psychosis, that's where it becomes very critical because that's where the mother may be feeling confusion. Okay, that's when the mother is feeling hopeless. That's when the mother is maybe having hallucination. And this category is the risk factors. It is known for those who may have experienced bipolar or
uh
might have had PPD, no, PTSD prior, or maybe even have the PPD in prior pregnancies, right? And again, that's where it's very important whenever you're feeling any of these symptoms that's as small as tired and exhausted to voice it out. Because if you have experienced bipolar or you have experienced some mental illness, the critical be prior to that, it can trigger these again, the hormone level in your body gone so low that you are feeling into this despair. And instead of falling into that despair, is reaching out. The abandonment of leaving a child, I have not seen, I have not heard, and also the maybe harming the child. I don't know, but I do know this much that the impact of the mother going through, again, we're going to talk about this when we talk about the impact on the children, right? So we're gonna bring in some more information on the impact of the children and social behaviors, mood behaviors, maybe don't have appetite, sleep problems. Those are also the what the effect that happen on the children. So those are the critical levels, and I'm sure by this time that's probably somebody have taken the child already from them because again, when we go to our at least in my clinic where I take my kid to the pediatrician, you get to fill up this form about the mother condition, how you feeling, and how you answer, and also with your OB postpartum checkup with them, they'll probably you probably voice out and say this is what I'm feeling because that assessment is there, and based on how the mother answered, and I think right away they'll get a red sign and they'll probably take the child to safety before it end up to a critical condition.
Wow. I am glad that you mentioned that, because, and this is a question that I did not think about, but it comes to my mind right now. when we're talking about this. How important is that assessment from that talks to her OB for the first time. She talks to her OB for the first time after giving birth. How important is that assessment?
I say that is very important. Very, very important because that's you voicing out. Number one advocate in life is you. You are your number one advocate. And I'll say this to our sisters that are out there. I was guilty with my pregnancy is that I this conception of like, oh my gosh, if I put this assessment out there, well, they're gonna put me into a mental institution, and the fear of it to grab you and you don't voice out and say, I'm just gonna go through it. If that's you, this is what I want you to do. Call your mom if your mom is there, call your sisters if their sisters are there, call your prayer group, whatever you can call. Tell your husband and don't go through it alone. This assessment is to help because many have slipped, right? The 20%, you don't want to go into the 20%. We just talk about the 20% who end up with a critical condition. For this assessment, be honest, write it down, answer the questions that are there. And some of these questions is for the last few, it's like about 10 questions you get to answer, Frederick. And the questions basically goes from 1 to 10 in the last few weeks. Have you been feeling exhausted, or have you feeling like life is so bad, or have you been feeling like the best part of your life? And you get to circle, on a scale of 1 to 10, and that's how they're basically assessing. And I can say in a defense as well, that's a good assessment, but also it's a poor assessment. We need to develop better assessment for these for mothers. Why? Because you asking me, like I share with you, you asking me this question. I woke up feeling high. I woke up feeling good. I woke up in a better mind state. You asking me what happened last week. I'm like, life has been good. I forgot about the moment when I was low. So I think instead of having, when you're going to get a checkup, having this question, one of the assessments should be a follow-up nurse who would check up on the mothers, right? If you have shown signs, if these people, if these mothers, for example, have shown sign that it's just she and her husband, if they don't have community, that's a red flag right there for me,
Right.
because she will not have a community to love upon her. We should be having a nurse follow up upon postpartum. I know it's a lot of women out there giving birth, believe it or not, a lot, a lot of women out there giving birth. But that assessment, I believe, will be very critical to be showing up. A nurse who will give a call, hey, how are you doing? Okay, you doing great, or maybe not, and how can we help you? What program we can give you?
I I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe there need to be better but I think when we're talking about benchmarks and we're talking about asking questions, I think those questions need to be more pointed questions. They need to be more directed questions. I mean, we can ask questions that speak to benchmarks all day, but you know, if we don't ask pointed questions, the difficult questions that require a thought process, or at least some of those questions should at least require a hair trigger reaction. Like, how are you feeling today? Well, it can be good, bad, or indifferent.
Mhm.
Um, in the last 6 months to last 4 to 6 months, have you felt this way? Have you felt that way? You know, those are basic questions. I think they get. I don't know. Maybe maybe just my thought process. Maybe those questions are basic questions that are only getting generic answers.
They are. They are getting generic answers because I'm showing up this morning. My baby slept good last night,
Right.
and I'm showing up, with my good makeup on, or maybe not, and okay, I'm just ready to go to my next thing. And as
Wow.
we are doing that, right? Again, I'm. It's an app you advocating for yourself if you're circling things that are not correct. And again, I want to also put the challenge to our healthcare provider there to have a follow up, a nurse who will contact you and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" At least 2 weeks. If we're talking about postpartum depression being something that can happen within 3 to 6 months, or for some, is right after birth, that means that we should call you as a healthcare provider, call you and assess with you. And if there are any program in the community, reach out to those community and say, "Hey, I just gave out birth, and I think what I will look is for you to look around your community, whatever state that you're watching this from. Find out what are some postpartum depression, and Google is a good program that will provide all the information, and find out those clinic and then say, "Hey, I just gave birth, and what do you guys offer?" That could be also a way of you giving that support that you need as a woman after transition well, so that you do not slip into the place of despair.
I agree. I agree. And I think that it's important for you know, that aftercare to be targeted to the woman. You know, we targeted to that woman to make sure that her quality of life isn't inter isn't displaced or disrupted. You know, of course, it's going to be a quality of life change because you have a kid and children, and we all know children enhance our lives in so many positive ways. You know, I know for me, if I know for me as a man, it really just put life in a whole different perspective for me. Um, but even more so for the woman,
Mhm.
I think that care needs to be targeted care towards both parents, because, and we're going to talk about this in a later episode, that it affects not just the mom or the mother, it affects the child, it affects the father, which in turn affects the family as a whole.
Mhm.
And there was the consequences of that are, I don't even know if cataclysmic would be the proper word I would use. I think if I use the word cataclysmic, I think that would understate the effect of not seeing this, not properly assessing it, and not putting that mother into some form of a treatment option, such as maybe seeing a mental health professional, um, if it gets to that point. Because, like you mentioned earlier, that could evolve from PPD to the postpartum psychosis, and
Mhm.
that's even worse, because now we're delving in. We're already, now we're delving into the realm of, like, uh, chances that chances that the mother could harm herself or harm her child. I think me personally, I believe when it goes to that, when it escalates to that, I think the chances of that are much higher. Why deal with it when it reaches that? Why not deal with it when it's here, when it's at the bottom,
All right.
when you can see it and you can touch it.
Mhm. When you have it when you're at the reach of control, if I can,
Yeah,
where you have option, not control, when you have options.
of course. And
Yes.
there are options out there. I mean, like I said, I'm with you on that when we talk about our healthcare system and our healthcare workers, or at least our doctors, such as our OBs. I think I strongly believe that there needs to be more targeted questions in that assessment. Instead of just asking basic questions, dive a little deeper.
Mhm.
You know,
Or
you,
probably connect the clinic, the OB need to connect to connect and give the to the women postpartum information. These are the clinics in your areas that support women after giving birth. So at least we have given you that support to know that. But if you have anything, feel free to come and connect with us. Something of such to tell the mother that we are with you and we're journeying with you. And I just, oh well, you have given birth, tata, pay the bill, send us the send us the money. We're losing human connection in the sense, and mother women are at risk.
we gotta get our health system. We gotta get our OBs. We gotta get better at that, y'all. We do, because again, me personally, I don't want that. I don't want that. What is, like you said, what is in range of us to reach and take care of it, and deal with it on the ground level. You don't want this to graduate to postpartum psychosis to now it's out of reach. And there's a strong possibility that that mother could be too far gone, you know. And I don't believe in people being too far gone. I do believe that people can always be reached no matter what their condition, no matter what state of condition they're in. So
Mhm.
I do believe that all people can be reached. But why wait till it's why wait till it's becomes intangible, where maybe that helping hand can't be put out at that time. Do it when that person can be talked to, can like get tapped on the shoulder, like, hey, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? No, don't say, don't give me up the generic. How are you really feeling?
In
Just
the
my
in the
just my
West,
thought process.
I wanna teach you this language. In the West African language, my husband is from West Africa. I'm from Central Africa, and they have a way of greeting, and that greeting is this: "Howdy, buddy." Basically, how's the body?
Oh wow.
And how's the body in the old days? It wasn't just how's the body you physically as we do it now, because when we talk to each other, say how the body is, how are you, and how's the body. But before, how the body used to symbolize how's how's your full body, you physical as a person. How you answer it, it determines. So if the chickens are not doing well because you're taking care, the body will not well. If your family members somewhere, because the body is the whole thing, right? How's the body? It could be the husband. How the body? Well, lately my wife has been really tired, and I noticed that she's exhausted. It impact her. It impacts me. How the body? How the body? What is impacting my children is impacting me, and it goes into the Ubuntu principles of South Africa. I believe I'll butcher this, but it's I am who we are together as one, basically. I am because you are. I am here on this platform because you are. This is Trailblazer here. If it wasn't for that, I would not be here. And if we begin to develop that, I believe the 20% of women that we just talked about will be spared and will be alive today, or maybe will have a better condition because we would treat with the concept of how the body, how are you, and be like you said, not generic of how you are, but as a wonderful Wesley says, how is it with your soul? And diving in deep in our community as husband, as wife, as partner, when the mother rise up, is to find out how are you. And please, women, answer it not generic, I am fine, but dive in deep on how do you really feel, because your life is also the life of others.
Ooh, very that's powerful right there. I can't even say, you know, that's very powerful. I'm speechless. I say is amen to that, sister. All I can say is amen to that because what can you say after something that's powerful like that? When you ask somebody how the body is, and that and they really don't have a choice except to answer honestly.
Mhm.
They don't have a generic answer. They have to answer honestly. And then, when they answer honestly, that's when the advocacy and care and the planning comes in. Wow. I love this, man. I love this. So before we close this show, we're gonna take one more break. And then I'm gonna let Joy give her final thoughts, but also let everybody know where she can be found on social media. So we'll return in just a moment. Do not go anywhere.
Hello, everybody. This is LHG. I am just coming to let you know that I am an independent paparazzi jewelry consultant. You didn't know that, did you? Well, now you know. So I would love to be your personal jewelry lady. Paparazzi is an amazing company. We sell nickel and lead free jewelry. We are known for our $5 bling, but you just need to know there is an exclusive Z collection that's $25. It's the bling of all bling when you're really going out on the town and you want to show up absolutely fabulous. So, we have items for women, for men, and for young fashionistas out there. We don't discriminate. If you need it, I'm sure we got it. You have the opportunity to follow my page on Facebook called Polished on Purpose, a VIP group. Follow my personal page, Latanya Harris Gooden. And I have my own website that is at your disposal 24/7. So many ways to shop. So let me be the one that makes sure you are accessorized the way you should be. Because I want you to be polished on purpose. My mentor always tells me, when you show up, people are checking you out. They're watching you. So why not be polished? Be poised. Be purposeful. Glam it up with pop, honey. I got what you need.
My Life Has Destiny is a faith-based podcast that talks about testimonies of faith, hope, redemption, restoration, and the perseverance of ordinary people through the extraordinary power of God. Join hosts Quint Jones, Coco Fenton, and introducing Terrence Jackson every Monday and Thursday nights, right here on Trailblazers Radio.
Welcome back to Trailblazers Radio. You guys are tuned into the check-in. And I'm your host, Frederick Beatty, and I also have my beautiful guest with me, Miss Joy Kitanga-Dabo here with us. And we just had a great conversation as it pertains to postpartum depression. Now, don't worry, y'all. Don't there there are several parts to this particular conversation because what we're gonna talk about, we can't fit this in like an hour or an hour and a half block. We have to break this down. And I want to let you guys know how we're gonna do this. We've already talked about what postpartum depression is. We pretty much confirmed what it is. Now we're gonna talk about the next show we're gonna have. We're gonna talk about how it affects the mother, how it affects her in an adverse way. What we're gonna dive a little deeper into the symptoms and things of that nature. We're also gonna talk about how it affects the partner or the father. Then we're also gonna the lab. When we wrap it up, we're gonna talk about how it affects the family as a whole. But we're also gonna talk about resources and also ways to access resources and how to get help. But first and foremost, I'm gonna give Miss Joy this opportunity. Number one, because I want to give her an opportunity to give her final thoughts on this, and once we do that, I also want to give also Joy. I also want to give you that opportunity to tell everybody where they can find you on social media as well. So, Miss Joy, your final thoughts, please, and where they can find you on social media. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Frederick, for that invitation and this great opportunity to be a voice to the voiceless, and also to journey together as a family, as an individual on the aspect of postpartum depression. Postpartum depression is not a joke. It's not a something that we should minimize. Rather, it's something that we should be. It's consider. We should consider it as an opportunity for us women to voice, to speak up. The moment you can learn to speak up as a woman in the smallest area, just as after giving birth, what is impacting you, it will open the door for many opportunity for women to speak up in other areas. Right now, women voice are silenced, not because that's what God created it to be, but because we ourselves feel shy that we cannot talk, express, whether you're living in a home of violence or whether you live in a happy marriage. Be your own advocate. And becoming our own advocate, it simply means to be able to say, I am tired or I'm excited about this. Because when you express and advocate for yourself, you give yourself room to grow. You give yourself room to be better. But if you are silent, you're silencing your voice, nobody can read our mind. Nobody can understand or interpret what's going on in their head. Only ourselves when we allow others. I want to thank God for my husband, who actually is my biggest advocate and supporter, as I mentioned earlier. Without him, I wouldn't have been doing this because I was just like, I don't think I want to share about this. But it's like, Joy, other women, and you are the voice of the voiceless. There are other women who may be going through this. So speak up. And the moment I decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to take this journey. That's when what? That's when Frederick showed up. You see how it is? Speaking up. The moment I began to advocate, I was just advocating in my home. I would tell my husband, I say, hey, listen, I feel exhausted. I don't know what's going on. I feel different in me. And he will allow me to rest. And he noticed what was going on. Maybe you may not notice. Somebody else will notice and somebody will point it for you to be like, oh, that's what it is. So speak up, voice it out, because that will be a way of freeing not just you, but many other women to come. You can find me on godimprint.com. That's where the website where I post a lot of our activities. You can also find us on Facebook, God Imprint, or Praying Women 365. You can find us on Instagram at God Imprint, and also on YouTube. You can find us on the channel of God Imprint. So please join us and let us know how we can be of support to you as a mother, as a woman, because we are on this journey. It's a calling, and this calling, it's to allow one voice at a time to be heard, and that goes through what? Unfolding the biblical voices, because that's where women started. It's in the Bible, it's in the ancient books, and they're there. And for me, I'm focusing on the Bible. You can be focused on many other things, but I'm focusing on giving voice to the many women starting in the Bible. So thank you again, Trailblazer, and it's been a very great, exciting journey to start with you. And I look forward to being here again as we are embarking on the postpartum depression check-in. Thank you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yo, thank you so very much, Joy, for coming on and just starting this discussion off, in a way to where it makes sense for me. Because again, I never thought that any of this was a thing until, you know, start reading about it. Did a little bit of research on it, not a lot, but then when we talked about it tonight, it brings a lot of things in perspective for me. So thank you for bringing certain aspects of it home for me. So I'm appreciative of that. So look at ladies and gentlemen, you guys can find Miss Joy, connect with her on Facebook, or Instagram and YouTube at God Imprints or info at GodImprints.com. Also www.godimprints.com. So if you guys reach out to her, if you guys want to connect with her, um, she will most definitely do her best to try to connect with you and then see what she can do as far as try to help you guys. Um, Again, I want to just thank her so very much for her time, for taking the time um, to share and be transparent and be that voice. I also want to thank her husband, Mr. Dabo, for again, sir. I want to thank you for allowing me to share your wife for a little while to talk about this subject. I am, sir. I am very very appreciative of you. Thank you so very much. Um, it means a lot for me to be able to talk about these things, these subjects, um, with our listeners and with our viewers, and this is important. This is important. So thank you so much, Mr. Dabo. I appreciate it. Um, Before we close, I do want to give a couple of announcements. So one announcement, first announcement is look here. Make sure you guys continue to follow us on our various social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We got a YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to that. We also have a Twitch channel, which this particular show is live streaming on right now. So go over there and follow our Twitch channel, like that. Subscribe to our Twitch channel. Um, there's a Patreon and a Linktree page coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. We also have a website, www.trailblazerradio.com. Also, if you're more into the audio podcast and not so much in the audio and video podcast, we got you right there. We got you right there. We got you on Spotify. We got you on Spotify. We got you on Apple Podcasts. We got you on Google Podcasts. We got you on Amazon. We got you on Amazon. We got you on iHeart. We got you on Caster. We got you on Deezer. So anywhere you get audio podcasts, we got you there as well. So check us. So check it out. Um, I try to upload these shows as soon as they're done, or at least by Friday, so that way people can check them out and look and listen to them and get some insights to them, man. So follow us everywhere, man, and also and also check out Quit Jones and Coco Fenton on my life. They have good equal conversations on Tuesdays and on Saturdays. She just had a girl talk yesterday. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It was so insightful. So always bring the heat when they come on, and I jump on and talk about subjects like this, and I also talk to authors, in music and and the like. So a person like Joy who has a platform, who has a voice, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Email us at trailblazersradio@gmail.com. www.trailblazers.net. I want to thank Joy Kitanga-Dabo for being on this show tonight.
Thank you.
My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. You have blessed me with your presence, your knowledge, and I want to thank you I want to thank you for being transparent tonight. I want to thank you for being that voice for those women who cannot be that voice. Like she mentioned before, 80% of those women make it through, but we want to concentrate on the 20%. The 20% of women that haven't made it through, that are going through right now. This particular series is for you. Again, I want to thank Miss Joy for being on the show tonight. Um, And just to give you guys a little preview of what the next few episodes are going to be, what to expect for the next few episodes. Um, so the episode number 2 is going to be, we're going to talk about how PPD affects the mother, how it affects the woman. So we're gonna do a deep dive into that, and we're gonna get in depth with that. Also, I want you guys to also tune into us on February the 10th. Um, I'm gonna have a show. My special guest will be Miss Juanita Bachelor. Juanita Bachelor. We're gonna have a serious conversation, y'all, and that conversation is going to be in the wake of what we've all witnessed over the last week or so. So we're gonna have a serious conversation. But on that note, I thank Miss Joy for being here tonight. Thank her husband for like, dude, you are the MVP right now. And I had, and I have so much respect for you. I have so much respect for you, Mr. Davo. So much respect for you because number one, you are that listening ear to your wife, Not only do you hear her words, but you hear her heart. Not only do you understand her heart, you understand her purpose, and you understand her mission and her calling. I give you honor, and I most definitely you most definitely I most you most you've already got you've already had my respect, sir. That was off top. You've already had my respect, but now it's so much more. You listen to your wife, and you know what her advocacy is. You hear her mission, and you know what her mission is, and you help her. You are that help meet to help her accomplish that mission.
Mhm.
I thank you. I truly thank you. Joy, it has been a pleasure to have you on tonight. I am looking forward to the next few episodes because we're gonna dive deep into this. We're most definitely gonna dive deep into this. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it has been honor, my pleasure to be on here with you guys tonight. I
Mm.
love you guys with the love of Christ. Y'all know that. I ain't got there's no words with that. I love you guys with the love of Christ. But as I always like to say when I end my show, when I end these podcasts, number one, take care of each other. Number two, love on each other. Last but most certainly not least, number three, it is a very, very crazy world out here, y'all. So above all, please, please, and please stay safe out there, y'all. See you next one.
Bye.